Hello, I'm Orkhan Amashov. Welcome to Context. The second half of last week marked a major escalation in the coastal region of Syria, known as the Alawite heartland of the country, with security forces loyal to the interim administration in Damascus clashing with what is referred to as pro-Assad insurgency cells. Now, it seems that what some were quick to interpret as a possible beginning of a new Syrian civil war has been cut short, as the country's defense ministry now says that it has completed a military operation in the country's western coastal region after days of extreme violence in which hundreds of people have been killed. Indeed, there are some reasons for cautious optimism. Mazloum Abdi, commander of the Syrian Democratic Forces in charge of the northeastern part of the country, has signed a crucial deal with the central government in Damascus. Dominated by the People's Protection Units, known as YPG, regarded as a Syrian extension of the Turkish-based PKK, which Turkey, United Kingdom, United States and European Union recognize as a terrorist organization, SDF has now agreed to integrate all military and civilian institutions into the official Syrian state. In line with the agreement, SDF will now hand over control of the region's border posts, airport and vital oil and gas fields to the central government, with the Kurdish minority recognized as an integral part of the Syrian state. Today, we'll discuss this evolving situation with my guests, and my guests are Adnan Nasser, a news correspondent based in Beirut, Lebanon, and Rena Neches, expert specializing in northeastern Syrian affairs, joining us from Istanbul, Turkey. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you for having me.
Adnan, quite a lot has changed since our last conversation. In a matter of a bit more than 24 hours, Ahmed al-Shara, the leader of Syria's interim government, now appears to be a man who is pulling the strings of the government, army and the country on the whole. Of course, quite a lot is yet to be done, but still quite a remarkable achievement. Would you not say so?
Yes, indeed. I mean, this was a man that many people at that moment after what happened in the coast had thought that his days in office may be numbered, especially after the large number of casualties that were inflicted in the coastal region on the Alawite minority. Yes, it's true that this pro-Assad remnants has suffered now a major setback with the increased military security forces in the coastal region. Yet let's not forget the real victory for the Syrian people now and what happened in the coast is this new deal struck with the SDF. Because military operations at the end of the day are a means to an end. You need to have a political solution if you want to put Syria back together as a country. So Ahmed al-Shara has also broken a taboo, which is recognizing the Kurds as an essential part of the Syrian nation. Now, in the past, the Syrian leadership under the Assads, Hafez al-Assad, the father, and then Bashar al-Assad, the son, had always played with this idea of recognizing the Kurds or saying they're an intrinsic part of the Syrian nation. But this was always a political tactic. Now Ahmed al-Shara is trying to make it come to life. There's still a lot of room and a lot of ground that needs to be covered, but this is a political victory for the current leadership, no doubt.
Rena, how do you evaluate this latest deal on the integration of the SDF into the Syrian state? YPG, which effectively dominates SDF, is regarded as the Syrian wing of the PKK, which is in the process of dissolution, as we know, after the call of Abdullah Öcalan. Earlier, before that, Mazloum Abdi is reported to have said that the call made by Öcalan was not applicable to SDF, but now things have changed. He signed a deal on the integration of his group into the Syrian state. What is your evaluation of the latest critical development?
Yes, exactly. First, it came quite at an important time. We just started with what happens in the coastal areas, very sadly. So it was a crucial time that this deal, and quite unexpected for everybody, came now about. Also because exactly what you said, that SDF leader Mazloum Abdi, who by the way uses his PKK names, it's not his real name, that he now agreed to sign a deal. What I understand, I talked with some Kurdish contacts, that there was enormous pressure from the Americans to sign the deal. Now, the Americans want stability in Syria. Everybody wants stability, but the Americans also want stability. They recognize the new government in Damascus. You cannot have two rival parties, and they might start to fight. We just see. We just saw the last days what happened with two rival parties in the coastal areas. So I also talked to some Kurdish friends yesterday evening in northeast Syria, and they say they were so happy that it was solved in a peaceful way. There are many questions still about the details, and some people are a little bit skeptical, like, will they really implement this deal? But a first very important step has been made. And a last remark in this regard, it was very important what happened between Turkey and Öcalan. People have always been telling me, Christians, Arabs, by the way, the area is mostly Arabs, huh? The Kurds are like 1/3 of the area, and then you have Christians, Chechens, Yazidis, also it's a mix, a mosaic in northeast Syria, like all Syria actually. And they have always told me to solve northeast Syria, the file of northeast Syria with the rest of Syria, with Turkey, you have to have a deal between Turkey and the PKK. But I think, given the difference between Abdi last week and this week, it's American pressure that helped a lot. Also because Trump probably is going to withdraw from Syria. There was not much left for.
So effectively, American pressure should be understood in conjunction with the prospective American withdrawal from Syria. That's what you effectively said. Adnan, a new Syrian interim government faces a number of challenges, of course, across the coastal part of the country. Now it seems that it's in charge, of course. The latest report produced by the Institute of the Study of War suggests that these pro-Assad insurgents of Alawite background are likely supported by Hezbollah smuggling networks. It's given that these networks are overlapping, the realm of their activities, area of their activities are overlapping around the Lebanon-Syrian border. What are they? How do you evaluate the prospects of those pro-Assad elements cooperating with a Lebanon-based Hezbollah against the central government in Damascus?
Well, if that is true, that's a very dangerous game that Hezbollah is playing, especially after taking a massive setback at the hands of the Israelis and the loss of their crucial ally, Bashar al-Assad. Look, to be very frank with you, if Hezbollah is doing this, it will lead to nowhere, because how do they expect to reclaim Syria as an ally if they're going to involve themselves in this new conflict that they're trying to create? But I doubt very much that Hezbollah sees this as an opportunity to win over the Syrian regime. I mean, I would like to ask this question. What is the end game of Hezbollah? To just cause trouble in Syria? It would be a foolish mistake.
Yeah. Brenna, this deal that we're talking about, the deal about the integration of SDF into Syrian state, is incredibly, incredibly important. It represents a major step towards the new government's declared goal to unify this fractured, divided and embattled country. What are the externally induced challenges that you believe the government in Damascus will face?
Well, they agreed that all these agreements would happen in 9 months, and that SDF then would hand over the weapons to Damascus. Now, I know from contact both in American circles who were on the ground trying to reach this deal. By the way, in January, they told me it doesn't look good. So recent last few weeks, or maybe the last week even, something happened. And also from the SDF side and from HTS side, in both groups, you have hardliners who did not agree with this deal. So are they going to spoil it? But having said that, I hear from all groups in Syria, and when we were in Syria in December, everybody is so tired of 14 years of war, since 2011, of course, and the economic situation is very bad. Electricity situation is very bad, like 1 hour or maybe 2 hours per day. So everybody wants, Syria to get peaceful, that the fighting stops, and that they can start to build Syria again, that the situation can improve. But yes, they're skeptical. They're afraid that maybe a deal is signed, but that implementation will not really happen. Given why they say so, there are still foreign PKK fighters there. They might not agree with what Abdi has done as a Syrian man, and they basically lost everything there. They had the control of the oil wells in Deir ez-Zor, which was a huge income for the PKK. And to name one thing, border crossings, all the taxes that goes to the border crossings will be handed over to Damascus. So they have a lot to lose. So it will be interesting to see if this all is going fine. But it seems, at least it looks like that Muslim Abdi and Ahmad al-Shara are very determined to make this work, and that's a very important step for everyone.
But it's something quite not very similar, but not entirely unrelated, happening in Lebanon as well. I mean, there they talk about the Hezbollah's integration into the official Lebanese state, but both their military institutions becoming part of the Lebanese state. My question to you, Rena, that's a follow-up question, is that what are the circumstances on the ground in the northeastern Syria? You know that region very well. In fact, that's your expertise, northeastern Syria. In terms of population, their composition, are they very much interested in terms of integrating into Syrian state? Because earlier, I think when my colleague Anita Sharma was interviewing you 2 weeks ago, you talked about this identity, the largest Syrian identity being accepted by many of those of Kurdish background. So they fundamentally regard themselves Syrian first, then as a regional identity they accept that ethnic identity. Would that play an important role in terms of easing this process, making it sleek and smooth?
Yes, I think many people in the northeast had the feeling they have no say because it was SDF only that had the weapons. Whether Kurdish groups or Arab groups or Christian groups, many fled. The last figures that I know from Jusur is that there's 2.6 million, so it's not a heavily dense population area. Roughly one third of those are Kurds, 2/3 of those are Arab tribes. And over the years, both many Kurds and Arabs have fled, and they whether live in opposition, now new Syria, but former opposition areas in the north and in Idlib. And in Turkey, I think you have about 1 million people from northeast Syria in Turkey. Turkey also wants them to go back. Of course, most of them are Arabs, but not only, also Kurds. Kurdish researchers tell me between 300,000, 400,000 Syrian Kurds in Turkey, and 250,000 in the Kurdish region of Iraq. And they mostly fled because of forced conscription by YPG. They don't agree to fight for YPG because they don't agree with the agenda of the PKK and so on. Another thing is that they were recruiting minors on a big scale, and the Americans said we cannot do anything about it. So every week they kidnapped a new, whether girl or boy, and many families decided to leave before this would happen to them. And I think the main thing is all the population that's now at least able to visit the areas or to go back to the areas without having to fear that they will be arrested. It was actually an Assad-light situation for many people there, and not as bad as under Bashar al-Assad, of course, but also many people arrested and people have been killed by PYD militants, Kurds and Arabs. So everybody hopes now that the whole situation will really improve.
Yes, indeed. And many people say that although the government in Damascus could be criticized for a number of reasons, but still, this is the best opportunity Syria has had for the past decades in order to have this unified future. Adnan, do you see the elements of comparison between Hezbollah and SDF when it comes to their integration to the official state? As Rena said, SDF is not really supported, has never been supported by the local population there. But Hezbollah in terms of its civil institutes, so part of the Lebanese society. But do you still see the similarities in terms of the integration of their integration into the official state?
I don't think this comparison is appropriate for one simple reason is that Lebanon has an official confessional system which gives the Shia community, which Hezbollah claims to represent, some political position in the structure of Lebanon. Syria, for many decades, was officially a secular state where there was no sectarian or confessional distinction. You know, in Lebanon, the Speaker of Parliament is a Shia, the President's a Maronite Christian.
But Shia does not necessarily mean it should be Hezbollah, right? I mean.
No, of course not. No, it simply means someone who has a Shia, background, religious background, can run as Speaker of Parliament. In Syria, we don't have this distinction. Now, it's possible in the future when they come up with a new constitution. Let's not forget this new agreement between the SDF and the Syrian interim government gives the Kurds, quote, constitutional rights and recognition. What that actually means, we will see in the next few months, if not longer. So I don't think the comparison is the right one. And I want to go back to your earlier question where you asked me about Hezbollah's involvement in this violence on the coast, or somehow they're egging on remnants of the old regime to fight the new government. Let's say Hezbollah or anyone wants to play spoiler new government. This deal between Ahmed al-Shara and the Kurdish SDF ruins any opportunity, or ruins the chances of any opportunity to destroy the new Syrian government's chances of unifying Syria as one country, bringing everyone under the umbrella of the central government. Because let's not forget, and if I'm mistaken, our expert can correct me, the SDF controls, I think, almost 40% of the country and has massive security forces that will now be integrated into the government, and they will not allow for anyone to play the insurgency card against this new system. If all their rights are being respected, they will have the responsibility of playing a positive role in maintaining peace and stability.
Yes, Adnan, in terms of comparison between Hezbollah and SDF, what I effectively meant was that it's about militia, with the non-state organization effectively being integrated into the official state. In terms of Hezbollah's background and SDF's background, of course, they are completely different. Rena, we have reached a point in terms of Syria. There are many challenges ahead, of course. There's no doubt about that. It's just the beginning of the long journey for the interim government, which is still interim government. There must be elections and so forth, will take place at some point. So the insurgency on the coastal region has been repelled. It looks like government is in charge there. SDF is in the process of being integrated into official Syrian state. What is the third challenge when you if you remove those two elements, the coastal Tartus and Latakia regions, and also SDF issue from the landscape, what is the next challenge there? These challenges are still there, of course, but what is a qualitatively different challenge which the government is facing?
Yeah, actually, I see two. And I would also like to point out that the vast majority of SDF fighters are Arab tribal fighters. So for them, it's not very difficult to integrate in Damascus. It's more the leadership is YPG, which has, I think, maximum like 20% support of the Kurds, not of the Arabs so much, but of the Kurds, they have like 20% of the support. It's still a minority, not majority. So a next challenge I would think is the old remnants of the regime, how we call them, are really like higher and notorious former regime officers, like Mikdad Fatiha. He has been photographed in front of many corpses. He has killed a lot, and he said quite directly after the fall of Assad already that he would set up a new brigade, the Coastal Shield. And what I understand from different experts and Arab media and local media is that he is financed and got weapons from a man called Riyad Dilla, who was the executive man of Maher al-Assad, so to say, of the very brutal fourth division of Maher al-Assad, which was very close to Iran. And what I understand is what several people tell me, and they're very sure, also commanders who are now, like former SNA commanders who are now in the coastal areas, that it's very clear to them that Iran has provided weapons, and Iran is providing money for this. And Iran is the big loser in Syria, and this will not be the final attempt of Iran. That's number one. It's actually quite, how do you say, amazing that so many notorious regime officers were still walking around. In the first week, there was like an amnesty. If you would do a settlement, of course, not an amnesty in that regard that people who killed many people, that they would just go walk free, but many Syrians have considered this amnesty too generous. I remember in Homs that many regime officers had fled to the coast just before the rebels arrived from the north, but that they already came back because they felt so relaxed, they were not being around everything. So here is a point as well, but I think the current government in Damascus has so much on its hands. And the second one is, but there are positive developments today as well. In Sweda, the Druze minority, there are some leaders there who don't acknowledge Damascus, but others do. And with the others that do, there has been a kind of agreement. I understand not a full agreement, but at least a start or partly agreement with Damascus also today. So there's still a lot of work to do, but I totally agree with the other speaker that where we were a few days ago, that Syria might be divided, what even some Syrians thought was going to happen, what Israel is very hard trying to reach, to bring about, that this is totally over. So a very positive development also, despite, the horrible things that happened in the coast. There is a lot to do. One more remark about the coast. Before the rebels started the offensive, I happen to know that they got training in how to deal with Alawites. So they had the leadership was very aware that these revenge actions could take, and apparently it did not succeed, of course, in 100% good results, but the rebels have been trained on how to treat with minorities and Alawites in particular.
Yes. Well, thank you very much indeed, Adnan, Rena. Most grateful to you for your time and for your answers. Thank you.
Pleasure.
This is for Adnan Nasser, a news correspondent based in Beirut, Lebanon, and Rena Neches, expert specializing in northeastern Syrian affairs, who joined us from Istanbul, Turkey. See you very soon indeed.